I've been on a low, I've been taking my time. I feel like I'm out of my mind. It feel like my life ain't mine. I've been on the low, I've been taking my
Hey everyone, welcome back to Project Mayday. These are your hosts G and Bree, and today we have a really cool guest. Her name is Whitney Gaudaur. She is a paramedic out of Fresno, California. She actually grew up in Clovis, and she's very open and honest, and that's why we want to have her on, because she's had battled depression, she's battled anxiety, battled suicidal thoughts, and PTSD. So, Whitney, welcome.
Hello.
All right, Whitney, so we want to kind of get a little background. How did you get into EMS?
So when I was younger, I was 21. No, I was 20. My family's home burned down with my brother and I inside, and
Wow.
all EMS showed up, American Ambulance, Fresno Fire. I had never seen anything like it before. And it was really cool. So I became kind of interested in it because I didn't know that's how things went down. So I set up a ride along with American Ambulance, and then I was hooked. I went to EMT school, and then I ended up at American.
So you've been in the field about 10 years, right?
Yeah.
No. So how much of that has been paramedic? You know, you're the sole paramedic on scene.
It's been 4 years as a medic, 6 years as an EMT, both at American.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I want to dive in too, because I don't think people are aware in this little microculture of Fresno. For American Ambulance, when you show up on scene, you're the primary medic because the fire departments are BLS only, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. How does that work? You haven't worked in different counties, so you don't really know what it's like to have another medic on scene. But do you do you think that you would do well if there was another medic on scene, or do you like where you're at?
I like where I'm at. Not that I don't think I could do well with another medic on scene, but I like being the one in control.
Yeah. So how does that work? How does that work at the house? I know her husband Alex is also a paramedic. So how does that work?
Yeah, there has to be some give and take.
So you'll compromise at home, but not on scene.
But I think my ambulance.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you just had a baby boy, huh?
I did. He's
Yeah.
7 weeks old.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, little boy. I've learned a lot. There's no books that tell you everything.
No, there's not. Absolutely not. Yeah. Did you work in the field when you were pregnant?
I did until I think I was 29 weeks pregnant. And then they took me out. I mean, COVID's going on. It was just a lot. So I went out on disability for other reasons, but it was dealing with COVID while pregnant. That was a lot. All that PPE, every call, you're tired. It's summer. You're already sweating. It was I was so happy that they took me off work.
You're like, no, I have to be safe at home.
Yeah.
Way more emotions too, while pregnant. Oh my gosh.
What were the cravings?
Yeah. All the Mexican food, everything.
Well, lucky for you, Fresno's got a bunch of those spots.
Yeah, lots of tacos.
So when you were pregnant and you were working and you said a lot of emotions, do you feel like you were a better medic or more compassionate, or did you feel more irritable?
A little bit of both. I felt like I was a lot more empathetic with all my patients. And yeah, I was pretty irritable and I was pretty tired. But a lot more of the calls, I felt a lot more compassion. And I felt like I cried a lot easier, with people.
They're like, what's wrong with this paramedic?
Yeah, and I gave out more hugs. I think, yeah.
That's probably why they took you off the ambulance during COVID. You were not doing social distancing. Yeah, I did. I actually finished my paramedic internship very pregnant and delivered 2 weeks after I finished. So, yeah, patients were like, "Oh, can I touch your belly?" I'm like, "Why? I'm not pregnant." And it was very confusing for them. So I was the opposite. I was highly irritable and didn't want anyone to touch me. There were no hugs. So we want to kind of look at your perspective as a female medic. According to U.S. News and World Report from an August 2019 article, only about 23% of paramedics, new paramedics, are female. And we're talking about within a decade. So from 2008 to 2017, we're seeing about a 23%. Do you notice that when you're working in the field as a medic, that most of the medics are male?
Yeah, somewhat. I feel like where I'm at, we have a pretty good mixture, but I definitely feel there's more males in it than there are females, for sure.
So being in a male-dominant field, do you think that that ever impacts you working on an ambulance or being, you know, the medic on scene with mostly male counterparts?
Yes, I feel like there's a big difference for like male versus female on scene. Whenever I show up to a call and I get out of the ambulance, and if I have a male partner, they'll go and talk to the male first. Like they'll tell him everything that's going on, and I'm just like sitting back here like listening. And then we get to the patient, and like I'm the one that's doing everything, and they're like, "Oh, my bad." But that always happens, and I don't know why it is, but it does. And I feel like I've had to work harder to like make myself known on scene because of that. But thankfully, over the years, like you see the same fire crews, you see everybody the same. So now they kind of know, like, oh, she's the one in charge. So I don't have to announce myself as often.
Yeah, before we got on with you, Bree actually was talking about that as well. That, you know, share your story with the hospital when her and her partner, male partner, were going to the hospital. The doctor would kind of look at the male and start getting a report.
And the nurses, which offended me because in a female dominant role, right, they always assumed my male partner, they're going to get turnover of care. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm actually the medic. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. But I was kind of offended. You know, like, how come it can't be me? You know, girl power, right?
But I think Amy, the PLN at RMC, she, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to her podcast. She has her back. I think she has, you know, all the medics back because she is married to, you know, a medic as well. So, no, she's very insightful.
She is. I love seeing her. And I feel like you always learn a lot from her, even when she's not trying to.
How many times have you been written up by her?
A couple.
So being a female on scene, I'm sure, you know, we've said in the intro that you've had your own struggles with mental wellness. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So before getting into EMS, I kind of had some anxiety. But once I got into EMS, like, it was super amped up. But I entered the field pretty happy-go-lucky, like, excited to be there. And like I said, I spent 6 years as an EMT, so everything wasn't too hard. It was pretty easy, you know. And then I became a medic, and, you know, like, a lot of stuff happens, and you see a lot of stuff. And sometimes other things like stay with you. And I had a lot of trouble after one call, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and ended up having some pretty bad thoughts. And I actually went to my work because they noticed something was going on. I was calling out, I was leaving work early, I was showing up late, so they knew something was up. So they brought me in. They were ready to fire me because I had, like, I'd been late so much, and I've done this and that. And they said, what's going on? And I told them everything that was going on. They put me on a leave of absence. They sent me to therapy. They were awesome. But it was really tough there for a little bit of time. And now it's like something I try to work on daily, because now I'm anxious all the time because the job is just, it's a lot. But it's something I work on daily. I keep an eye on myself, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. And there's good days and bad days. But like, I'm in the best spot I've ever been, mentally and emotionally.
Wow, that's a lot after having a baby too.
Yeah. I think it's a lot to do with, like, you know, I'm so happy for life and everything. But for a time, it was touch and go. But now I'm just great in my own life.
And being married to also a first responder, it's like you can't really leave the field, because when you come home, I mean, we talk about our war stories, right, and whatnot. So it's like you can't really separate yourself from it because you're married to it, you know, at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, we had 2 roommates that lived with us here as well, and they both worked at American Ambulance. So it's like all the time, work stories all the time, what's going on at work all the time, all the drama.
Oh, there was a lot of drama.
But it's actually nice having another medic. So I'd rather it, for sure.
So you feel like you guys are very open, you share all the struggles or weird calls.
Yeah.
Great support
and it's
system.
nice to have that one person that, like, you know, actually understands it, and you can call and cry about it, and they can call you and cry about whatever they've seen, and it's really nice. It's a really good bond, for sure.
No.
Because I've seen people who are not in the field.
and Alex is doing big things. He just got his real estate license, right? He's going into that kind of career as well. That's awesome.
He's doing both right now. It's pretty crazy. But no, he's with COVID and everything, he's looking for, like, to transition out and just be an American per diem. But, you know, things are crazy right now.
And we'll talk about the lack of pay later in a different podcast. For the risk taken and the lack of pay, it's not a surprise that first responders have other jobs.
Doing both, doing it all.
So can you explain, in your personal opinion, what is the difference between an EMT and a paramedic? Not the job skill, but you said things changed for you when you became a medic. Was it because you were in charge? Was it you just got dispatched to different calls? Can you explain what really changed for you in the last 4 years?
I feel like I obviously didn't have all the responsibility as an EMT, and then you get your blue card and you just take on everything. You're responsible for your patient, you're responsible for yourself, you're responsible for your partner, you're responsible for whatever happens to your patient, pretty much. And it just, everything is a lot. That's a lot of responsibility. And it's pretty stressful sometimes, because you feel like, well, it's my fault if this goes wrong. And sometimes it's hard to not think that way. So mentally it changed a lot getting that blue card. I was happy to lucky with that red card. It's like, I'll get you there. I'll help you, whatever you need. I'm gonna get it for you. But now it's like, I have to be the brain and, like, your support. Like, I don't know. It was a lot.
And I was actually there when you upgraded to a paramedic, so I got to witness the deer in the headlights look from you every time you came to the hospital with something crazy.
There was a lot of that.
Well, and especially a busy system with a BLS department. So sometimes you do have those really bizarre calls and you have no one to kind of bounce ideas off of. Instead, you have to make base if you need to have an expert opinion. And that's very stressful. Like you said, it really is on you and your license in a very busy 911 system.
It's super busy, and it's we got a lot of gang activity, and there's a lot of other crazy stuff that happens around Fresno. I don't know why, but yeah, it's nice having the BLS system there to help you if you need help packaging or anything. And sometimes it's nice to bounce ideas off of them because a lot of the fire guys have been here forever, so they've seen a lot, and it's nice to bounce ideas off them. But when you're the sole person, and it's like my only other thing is a phone call real quick, kind of scary.
For sure. So what about when Alex, you upgraded before Alex did, so when after he upgraded, did you see a change in him as far as the mental health aspect goes?
Yeah, he actually he became solo before me, and then I became solo about like a month and a half, 2 months later. Yeah. But mentally, yeah, he was super stressed, and he doesn't hide his stress very well. He just like wears it there on his face, but he's solid. Like, he's dealt with a lot of pressure in his life, so he takes it really well. But he'll vent to you later about it. Yeah, he'll take on any challenge, but he'll vent to you.
Yeah, he was my partner for a little bit. He was my EMT for I think almost 6 months or so, and we would have a good time at work because I found out that he was a gymnast. Where was he at again? I was trying to tell her where he was, but where was he?
At ASU.
ASU, that's right. And at one of the posts there was these rings. And I was like, "Hey man, do your thing, go do it." And he was like, "No, I don't want to do it." I was like, "You better do it. We're not going to another 911 call until you get on those rings." And then he did it. I was like, just amazed at what he could do.
That's what he should have done in front of patients. Like, do you know who I am?
Yeah, literally.
So let's go back to your mental wellness. So you did say that there was a call that really bothered you. Can you talk about that call?
Yeah. So it was within my first year at American, or solo as a paramedic at American. And it was a pediatric cardiac arrest call. He was about 7-8 months in between there. And it seems like he had aspirated while mom was in the shower and brothers and sisters were playing, while brothers and sisters were supposed to be watching him. So it was like a very stressful scene. Everybody upset. And obviously, pediatric codes, they're horrible in their very own right. But ended up not turning out well. And I felt really bad about it and thought maybe I could have done something else. But it weighed really heavy on me for a really long time.
Was it the situation, or was it, I mean, obviously the outcome was very poor, and that always, we do carry that responsibility, even though we shouldn't, but we do. Was the call difficult because of the scene? Was the scene chaotic also?
The scene was chaotic, but I feel like it was most difficult because this was my first solo pediatric arrest. And thankfully, I did have another medic with me at the time. So he kept me, like, calm on the outside, but, on the inside, like, little duck on water. Yeah. But the scene was stressful, and then I felt like I never let that stress go until, like, the end of the shift. Because I was just so amped up on what had happened there, and then this was happening, and this was happening, and this happened, like everything at once. It built, and then after the call, I totally broke down. But
how does that translate, to your own kid now? Are you always checking on him like every 2 hours or an hour?
Yeah, we actually have the outlet, so we put it on his foot, and it like beeps super loud if anything, like if he doesn't take a breath, like if his heart's beating too fast, it sets off an alarm. It's great.
Yeah.
That'll fade after the second kid. When did you stop Karen Brink?
Thanks, Jude. Maybe third. Well, I understand definitely. When I had my son, he was premature, my first, and the nurse happened to mention in passing that a premature male had higher incidence of SIDS. I was like, okay, that didn't trigger. Oh, yeah. I was like, that's a little rude. So it triggered me, of course. And so I checked on him like every 10 minutes and didn't sleep like the first 2 weeks. And finally, Zeph's like, you have to sleep, because I was psychotic. Because we always think worst case scenarios. That's our job, is to go there. We think, okay, you show up on scene, you're looking at this kid, this elderly person, whoever it is, and you're thinking, what could kill you right now? Right? And so then it's hard to disconnect that from your own life. Instead of enjoying life's little moments, you're thinking like, is everything okay? I'm unsure. Yeah. So then you buy the owlet, and then it's going off, and you're up all hours of the night, I'm sure.
So you said you went to therapy. Can you dive into that a little bit about, was it helpful, or did you think it was helpful, or no, that wasn't really it? Kind of go in that a little bit.
I think it was helpful for the times that I did go, because I feel like they look at things in a different perspective, and maybe I feel this way because of something else, and they have all the training in that. So I learned a lot from that. I learned some techniques where I can calm myself down, like in my head. So yeah, it was really helpful. But I feel like talking to my peers is more helpful than, going to therapy, because I feel like they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And maybe some of them have dealt with it before. But talking to my peers, and we have a peer support group at American Ambulance that I'm on the group or on the team, but it helps talking, I feel.
Oh, absolutely.
Was your therapist specific to first responders?
She was, but I don't think she had been in the field.
Okay.
But she was specific to EMS. And she was super nice. She was great.
Yeah.
Girl, she was nice. I didn't trust her. So you said, okay, so the therapy, you would recommend it. You think that it was helpful, but talking to your peers was more helpful.
Yeah.
You mentioned after that call, that pediatric call that really triggered you, that you cried after the call. Do you think that there are stereotypes of being a female in charge that may prevent you from showing all that emotion, or do you think you're allowed to show all that emotion because of the stereotypes of being a female?
In the beginning, like starting out like 10 years ago, I felt like I had to hide my emotion and just keep it buried. But I feel like the last 5 years, I feel like things have changed in the culture, and I feel like people let their emotions out more. There's been a lot of people that I've seen, they're really upset at hospital. I let them cry on my shoulder. It's not so hidden as much now, I think. And I feel like I'm pretty good with letting my emotions out and instead of keeping them bottled up.
And I
feel like it's really changed the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I know that you kind of make these little vlogs. I love watching your little videos that you make in the ambulance. I got to show Bree after we're done talking. They're super funny, and I think you use that as a kind of de-stressor as well. Would you say so?
Yeah, I do. I'm a Sagittarius, so I'm a big laugh it off, everything's fine.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah. So what other things do you do? Besides those vlogs, spending time with Alex. Do you do something where you kind of just, for me it's drawing. And what do you do something?
That's a good question. What do I do?
I'm gonna take that as a no.
We have a dog. I spend a lot of time with the dog. I don't even know what I do anymore now that I'm than in the sickness of a newborn.
Yeah, you know what? It's just going to get worse when the kids grow up. Your hobbies are going to be taking them to sports games. So, all right, Whitney. So, for any females going into paramedicine or looking into EMS, do you have any words of advice for them?
I would tell them to stay confident. You know, even when you feeling like you're getting kicked down, stay confident. You got that male partner that keeps on like getting all the attention. Just make your presence known and stay confident in what you're doing.
I love that. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah. What about just EMS as a whole? A message to everybody, you know, what would you kind of leave off?
Try and, you know, keep your emotion. It's hard to like be in it for a while and you get salty and you get mean. Just like be nice, be kind.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's actually really, really hard is to stay nice, honestly.
For sure. All right, Whitney. So how we like to end these is 5 rapid fire questions. And the rule is 1 word or 1 phrase. So the ones that we've had on the show don't understand the meaning of 1 word or 1 phrase. So hopefully you do. And so Bree will take over and let's see what we come up with.
Okay, first question. What was your biggest challenge of being pregnant in the field?
Oh, the heat.
What was it?
The heat.
The heat.
The heat.
Okay, number 2. What is 1 food or drink you always bring with you to work?
Water. Coca-Cola.
Okay, number 3. Who's the better medic, you or your husband?
Him.
Oh.
Ooh.
I'm more street. He's more book.
So
I can
you
see
are?
that. I can see
So
that.
you are. Okay, number 4. If you were a Christmas character, which one would you be?
Cindy Lou Who.
That was a good one.
All right, and last one. What is 1 word to describe women in EMS?
Badass.
Love it.
Ooh, that was good. That was beautiful. Whitney, thank you again for coming on. I know you're tired. You got a newborn, so that tree looks amazing in the background. That tree looks amazing. I'm sure your husband put that up.
He did it all.
But in all seriousness, Whitney, thank you so much for coming on. Your strength is absolutely admirable and needs to be imitated in this field. I think that's super important what you said about keeping your composure, keep it, it's okay to feel stuff. It's okay to be emotional at times, and that's the best way to let things out and communicate. So thank you so much for your message, Whitney, and it's been a pleasure having you on.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, this is Project Mayday. Call out.
Call out.